Randy Rhoads wasn't just a guitarist, he was a musical lightning bolt, flashing across the rock world far too briefly, but leaving it forever changed. Hello, and welcome to the Church of Rock and Roll, where we celebrate rock legends and artists who have left us. Born in Santa Monica in 1956, Randy grew up surrounded by music. His mother ran a music school, and you could hear that classical influence in everything he played, from his soaring solos to the delicate, haunting melodies that poured from his guitar. By his early 20s, Randy was already setting Los Angeles on fire with Quiet Riot, his stage presence equal parts shy genius and blazing energy. But his true destiny came when Ozzy Osbourne, freshly out of Black Sabbath, auditioned this young, skinny kid with a Les Paul and instantly knew this was it. Ozzy later said that Randy saved his life and career, and it's no exaggeration. Together, they made history with albums like Blizzard of Ozz and Diary of a Madman, records that redefined what heavy metal could be. Songs like Crazy Train, Mr. Crowley, and Flying High Again weren't just rock anthems, they were masterclass in passion, precision, and imagination. Randy's solos weren't about showing off, they told stories, mixing fire and feeling in a way that no one had heard before. But behind the blinding talent was a gentle soul, humble, kind, and endlessly dedicated to learning. Even while touring with Ozzy, Randy carried his classical guitar and practice books, always studying, always striving. He dreamed of one day leaving the road to teach music full-time. Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley placed 9th and 28th, respectively, on Guitar World's 100 Greatest Guitar Solos Readers poll. Crazy Train placed 51 in Rolling Stone's 100 Greatest Guitar Songs of All Time. In December 1981, Rhoads was voted Best New Talent by readers of Guitar Player magazine and voted Best Heavy Metal Guitarist by UK-based Sounds magazine. At the time of his death, Rhoads had already made the decision to part ways with Osbourne once his contractual obligations had been fulfilled. Though he had a good relationship with Osbourne, the vocalist's constant drug and alcohol abuse made day-to-day life on tour difficult for the members of his band. As the Diary of a Madman US tour progressed, Osbourne would often refuse to perform due to the lingering after effects of the previous night's excesses, and only his future wife Sharon could talk him into taking the stage. Many shows were simply canceled, and Rhoads grew tired of the unpredictability. On a day between shows, Randy was talked into getting onto a small plane after he was already reluctant to fly. The real tragedy all in the hands of pilot Aycock, who made a few attempts to buzz over the tour bus. Aycock succeeded in making 2 close passes, but botched the 3rd attempt. At about 10 a.m., after being in the air for approximately 5 minutes, one of the plane's wings clipped the top of the tour bus, breaking the wing into 2 parts and sending the plane spiraling. The initial impact with the bus caused Rhoads and Youngblood's heads to crash through the plane's windshield. The plane then severed the top of a pine tree and crashed into the garage of a nearby mansion, bursting into flames. Rhoads was killed instantly, as were Aycock and Youngblood. All 3 bodies were burned beyond recognition, and Rhoads was identified by dental records and personal jewelry. According to Sharon Osbourne, who was asleep in the bus and awoken by the crash, they were all in bits, it was just body parts everywhere. Ari was the only member of the band to witness the crash, as the rest were still asleep on the bus. In his account, he reported a struggle between Rhoads and Aycock in the cockpit, seconds before the crash. Aycock's estranged wife Wanda had spent that last night on the bus. Band members reported that Aycock was attempting to reconcile with her. According to witnesses, Wanda emerged from inside the bus shortly after the flight took off and was standing in the doorway watching the plane as Aycock made his final approach. Sarzo also mentions Aycock's troubled emotional state that day, worsened by the effects of the cocaine and sleep deprivation. Given the struggle in the cockpit, Sarzo theorized that Rhoads' actions in the last seconds of his life prevented a direct hit with the bus, which potentially could have killed the pilot's ex-wife and everyone else on board. Ozzy Osbourne recalled that he and the band didn't know Aycock was doing coke until the coroner's report. It was confirmed after the autopsy that Aycock had tested positive for cocaine. The NTSB investigation determined that Aycock's aviation medical certificate had expired, and it was reported that Aycock had been the pilot of another fatal crash in the United Arab Emirates 6 years earlier. Sharon had been aware of the prior crash, but hadn't informed anyone else on the tour. My question is, why did Sharon hire this pilot knowing of his past flight incident? And why did she not tell anyone on the tour about this? Is she partly to blame? Let us know what you think in the comments. Rhoads' funeral was held at the First Lutheran Church in Burbank, California. Serving pallbearers at the funeral were Osbourne, Aldridge, Sarzo, and Rhoads' former Quiet Riot bandmate Kevin Dubrow. On his coffin were flowers and 2 photos of the guitarist, one showing Rhoads and Osbourne on stage in San Francisco. Rhoads is buried at Mountain View Cemetery in San Bernardino, California. On his tomb is the inscription, "An inspiration for all young people." When he died, it wasn't just a musician that the world lost. It was a spirit of purity, humility, and boundless creativity. But somehow, in his short 25 years, Randy created something that even death couldn't take away. His solos still sing, his tone still moves hearts, and his influence still flows through every guitarist who dares to play with both fire and feeling. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Randy Rhoads left this world too soon, but he left it better. He proved that music can be both fierce and beautiful, technical and soulful. And though he flew too close to the sun, his light still shines on, eternal, electric, and unforgettable.
Randy talked with them and said, "Oh, I don't think I'd be interested because I like my band," which was the big Quiet Riot days. But I said, in music, Randy, sometimes it's who you know that makes a big difference. So you should just go down and talk with him and meet him, if nothing else. "Oh, well," he said, "I don't know." He was comfortable because he was teaching here. He had a good income coming from his teaching. He played in his band. He was with Quiet Riot. And so anyway, they called back again. And because I had kind of persuaded him, he said, "Well, I teach at my mom's school. And by the time I get through, it's late. I'd have to go home and then get down there." He said, "I don't know what time it would be." They said, "It doesn't matter. Come anytime. Just come." "Okay," he said. Well, he went very nonchalant about the whole thing, and he took the little amp. He wasn't gone long. So when he came back, I said, "What happened, Randy?" And he said, "Well," he said, "I don't know." He said, "I was just warming up a little bit." And he said, "Ozzy came out and said, 'You've got the job.'"